Hello everyone and welcome to Sunburned Albino ranks all the Bloodborne bosses from easiest to hardest. You may have seen other scripted videos of mine with a bunch of still images in the background purporting a third grade slideshow like this, but not this time. I did something heroic just for you guys. I started a new game of Bloodborne, and in 14 hours and 20 minutes, I collected footage of me beating every boss in the game, including the super secret one. A few of the fights you see will be cut from the character I built for my Let's Play series of the game, but most will be my ultra badass blue-haired top-hat-wearing dagger-wielding destroyer of worlds. Prepare yourself. Starting with the easiest boss in the game and then working our way up. Number 1, Witches of Hemwick. This boss fight looks mildly intimidating from the get-go because of those scythe werewolves that continue to spawn throughout the fight. The ones you probably had some trouble with leading up to this area because they only stagger when they want to, but this boss fight is actually the easiest in the game because at no point during this encounter do you ever have to actually attack one of them. The Witches of Hemwick must be getting rusty with their conjuring spells because these wolves are blind as bats, and even if they do see you, the quickest way to lose them is to jog about 10 feet away before they forget you ever existed. The witches themselves are pretty frail creatures who have to rely on invisibility to stop you from consistently clobbering them. Now this fight will have you running back and forth multiple times across too big of a room, so it may take a while to actually finish them off, but very rarely are you ever in any actual danger. Even when a witch catches you with her weird galactic donut spell, the werewolves tend to ignore their prey, helplessly struggling within arm's length. Kill both witches before one can respawn the other one, and the boss is done. And if a witch does respawn, it only has a quarter of its health, so they have succeeded in extending the fight by about 30 seconds. Number 2, the One Reborn. This boss is basically a nightmarish mega-evolution of muck. It's a weird sentient pile of zombies and garbage skeletons that have conjoined together Power Rangers style to create what can only be described as a mutant slimy bone orgy. The reason it's the second easiest boss is because it has real trouble putting out any kind of offense. It's got a sewage dumping attack that can be easily dodged by moving at any speed in any direction. An AoE blast you've got a couple weeks to identify and evade, and other than that, it mostly just occasionally stomps around and tries to kick you with its centipede legs. The main issue with the fight is that perched atop the towers surrounding the encounter area are a bunch of flaming bell bitches that shoot fireballs constantly to interrupt your attacks. The thing about that, though, and something I didn't realize until the fourth time I helped someone with this fight, is that you can actually go up there and kill them by finding one of the obscure spiral staircases on either corner of the map. Very helpful. Now let's just sit here in silence for a bit and watch how the last 5 seconds of this fight goes. Magnificent. Number 3, Celestial Emissary. You know those bulbous, glowy aliens that I'm pretty sure are the result of Yusefka's experiments? You know how easy they are to kill? The boss of them isn't much harder. At the end of the Upper Cathedral Ward in the beautiful, if you like weeds, Lumen Flower Garden, you'll find a never-ending squad of Rogers from American Dad. As you mow them down with absolute ease, you'll notice the boss's health go down every few swings. That's because the boss is one of those small, pathetic extraterrestrials, and once you single him out, you can wail on him until half his health expires. But after that, though, something truly terrifying happens. That alien grows to over 3 times its size, and keeps the same attacks. Ah! What are you gonna do? The same shit you've been doing. Kill it, and then feel slightly uncomfortable with how simple it was. Number 4, Blood-Starved Beast. I concede something. We're going a bit out of order here, because I have to pay special mention to the Blood-Starved Beast for being the scariest boss in this entire game. The way its face reminds me of a broken condom spurting out juice constantly really gets under my skin. This boss is not to be taken lightly. He is an extremely formidable opponent, and the second you underestimate his power and abilities, the second you've lost. I could go on for minutes about how unprepared you are for this fight, how completely oblivious you must be to the danger you've just walked into. Oh, is it over already? That was easy. Number 5, Cleric Beast. The Cleric Beast is one of the first bosses you can fight in Bloodborne, so it makes sense that it wouldn't be too much of a strain to beat, even though the game expects you to die your first time around, because when you do, you respawn at the Hunter's Dream with the doll now activated, yet no blood echoes to level up with because you left them all in the boss fight. A nice blatant middle finger in the face, by the way, and then they add a second middle finger to your face by giving you the beckoning bell, as if to say, you can't do this on your own. Shove it up your ass, From Software, I ain't a quitter. This boss is an imposing first boss because of its size, but all of its attacks are hugely predictable, especially the grab, which takes literally a full 2.5 seconds to execute. If you can't get out of the way of that, you need to get out of the way of this game. Take advantage of the attacks that leave them wide open, wail on them a few times, and back the hell up. That's Souls Games 101. Number 6, Dark Beast Parl. Of all the beast bosses in Bloodborne, this one is the coolest. It's a big electric type Pokemon that likes to use Charge and Thunder Punch. This boss might seem difficult, but only if you're fighting him the wrong way. Don't lock onto him, and only use overhead attacks if you've got him. This boss is easily stunned by heavy weapons, so if you're packing a Kirk hammer or a Ludwig greatsword, you're golden. If you're packing dueling daggers like myself in this video, you might notice me getting my ass slightly kicked, but pay that no mind. I'm just trying to put on a good show and make the beast think it has a chance. I'm a tease. Number 7. Vicar Amelia. Rounding out the beast boss quartet is Vicar Amelia, who was a vicar turned giant undead fox. This boss is the bulkiest of the four and is a big fan of healing herself like an asshole, which is what makes her the hardest and biggest pain in the asshole. Her attacks are easy to dodge, but the bulk on her is seriously like striking iron with a toothpick. If your weapon doesn't do enough damage to offset her constant rejuvenation, I had a fight with her that lasted 25 minutes before she finally fell over and died. The most annoying part of this fight is her constant shrieking, so I guess she's still a woman at heart. No, but we have fun here, all of us here at me writing this script. Number 8. Murgo's Wet Nurse. You know, for being the second to last boss in the main story, you would think this weird elephant crow would be extremely difficult, but she's just not. Maybe it's a he. Guys can be nurses too. They just prefer to be successful. Some of this nanny's attacks can one-shot you, depending on your vitality. Those would involve most attacks where she uses all of her blades in the same motion, but they have pretty long reflex times. A few minutes into the fight, she'll start coating the area in a Jimi Hendrix song, where you basically continue the same fight as before, only with your vision obscured by weed and a terrible rendition of the national anthem. Once you've reduced the nurse's health to about half, she'll spawn a doppelganger of herself that appears next to you, does one attack, then vanishes, before appearing again and doing a different attack. Basically just keeps you on your toes. Even though one mistake could cost you the fight, this encounter just doesn't have a lot of urgency associated with it. I was never really afraid that I would fail, even when I did, but maybe that's because the background music is a lullaby performed with soft Japanese instruments. Keeps the thoughts of death at bay. Number 9. Micolash, host of the Nightmare. I hate this boss. It has a pretty significant cheese factor for beating it, which I'll get to in a minute, but this guy is such a bitch. The fight takes place in a labyrinth of foggy stairs and dancing puppets. It's a cool setting to fight a guy with a birdcage on his head, but it's just so frustrating to try to figure out where to go if you didn't look it up online. The first half of this encounter happens in a single room, unless you have a co-op partner, in which case it's very easy to screw with his AI and make him run all over the goddamn place. But actually dealing damage to him is very easy, as he only has one attack, the Augur of Abritus, which is that tentacle attack that does so much damage to you, but when you try to use it, enemies' health bars don't even flinch. Once you knock the first half of his health out, he'll act like he died and disappear, at which point good fucking luck finding him if you don't know exactly where to go. Then you do find him, and what does he do? Run into another room while you chase after him thinking, yes, okay, no more bullshit running around, this ends here, until, boom, the gate crashes down behind him and you're stuck on opposite ends. I feel like this boss fight was meant to be extremely psychologically taxing, to break your will and make you give up ever beating this game. It took me 20 minutes to figure out how to get into that stupid closed-off room, and once you do drop down into there, Micolash, host of the bullshit, has another magic attack you might be familiar with, if you killed the NPC hunter in Bergenworth. That cheap-ass clusterfuck of a meteor shower that has a really fun habit of one-shotting me. And what happens if you hit Micolash before he finishes launching it? He launches it anyway. Seriously, you can't make this stuff up. And even if you do interrupt that attack in time, which requires almost an immediate pistol shot, he'll just do it again, and then also again. He never runs out of Quicksilver bullets. It costs me 8 every time I do that spell, but this guy's just way too cool to have limits. But that brings me to how you can stick it to him hard and strong and feel really good about doing it with no shame whatsoever, the cheese factor. After you take half his health, you chase him for a bit. Eventually he'll drop down through a hole in the ground. Do not follow him. Stand right at the top of the hole and throw poison knives at his bitch ass. He isn't programmed to move unless you follow him down there, because otherwise you'd lose track of him before he closed himself off with the gate. 3 poison knives will start the slow cycle of victory, and you'll have to poison him 3 separate times to win. It may feel cheap, but if you went through what I did, you will laugh maniacally as you watch his health bar dwindle down to nothing. Integrity be damned. Micolash be dead. Number 10. Amygdala. So there's like 7 amygdalas in this game apparently, but unfortunately you only get to kill one of them. I'm starting to think that Bloodborne really exceptionally rewards people who use heavy weapons, because this is another boss that gets destroyed by them. An overhead attack with the greatsword can hit 2 arms at once for double the damage, and staggers the shit out of Amygdala, which is how I like to pronounce it. It only takes serviceable damage from attacks to its arms or head, so if you want to kill it by swiping its ankles, you'll be in that fight for a couple years. Staying directly in front of the giant Spider-Mon is a great way to get smashed to death, so you'll want to hang out to the sides of its feet, and wait for those moments where his arms are resting on the ground. Eventually, he pulls a Dark Souls 2 Last Giant move and rips a couple of his arms off to use them as weapons. Still not a tactic I see as being beneficial in the long run, but whatever. All that does is increase the range at which he can hit in front of himself, but you're not supposed to be standing there anyway. So it turns out that dual dismemberment serves him no actual purpose. Who would have thought? Number 11, Shadows of Yharnam. This is the first and only true multi-enemy boss fight, and it takes place in the Forbidden Woods at the end of the biggest area in the game. This is where co-op really comes in handy, but if you prefer to fight bosses solo as I do, this test can be a daunting one. There are 3 shadows with 3 different attacks. One just has a sword, walking around and swinging it like he thinks he's Samurai Jack or something. Another has a sword and the ability to breathe fire through a candle, which I assume means his breath has the same components as aerosol. And the last one has a morning star but prefers to hang back and shoot slow-moving fireballs, because quick-moving fireballs aren't his style. I prefer to tackle Samurai Jack first, as he attacks the most often and likes to chase you down. But once you almost kill one of the shadows, they perform some kind of snake ritual and start sprouting vipers from their heads. I don't know about you, but I would not give a nest of snakes free reign over my body and mind just to kill a guy. Being controlled by Mambas means every shadow's melee attacks have greatly increased range, which is why when that stage happens, the one who could be the most dangerous with his melee attacks should be dead. After you kill 2 shadows of Yharnam, the last remaining one starts a process I'm not a big fan of. Apparently the ground you're walking on is hollow and filled with the biggest den of giant rattlers anyone has ever seen, and when the last shadow bends over and casts a red circle on the ground, they will pop up from everywhere and bite the shit out of you. There's no telling where they'll spawn, and they seem to have an infinite reach, which is why you need to not let the dude do this attack. Murder the last ringwraith as fast as you can, and the fight's over. Number 12, Moon Presence. So you've heard a lot about getting 3 umbilical cords in order to fight this boss after Gearman, right? What they don't tell you is you need to actually consume the items for it to work. I very nearly missed my chance to fight this guy because it was 3 a.m. and I briefly forgot all the knowledge I ever knew about anything. As the super secret boss, I have to say that while he has a few trump cards, the fight is largely uncomplicated and easy to pull off. His physical attacks aren't much different from squaring off against a garden variety werewolf, and it gives you lots of time to wail on him when his combos have finished. The kicker is he has a Sin Harvest-esque attack that, no matter what, brings you down to 1 HP, making you frantically heal before he launches another tirade. Thankfully, he likes to just sit there and let you use 3 vials in front of his face to get back to full health, and then he likes to sit there a bit longer for you to pay him back. Another attack he has that I haven't really pinned down is the ability to block your blood vial usage, which is a load of crap, and it lasts for about 30 seconds or so. When he uses both those attacks semi-close together, that's when you can find yourself in a rough patch, but this video is my very first time ever facing this boss, and anything I can kill on my first try must not be insanely difficult. Number 13, Martyr Logarius. Martyr Logarius is the boss of a relatively secret Cainhurst Castle area, unlockable by finding the Cainhurst summons in Yosefka's clinic, and then traveling to Witch's Abode and approaching a big obelisk near the Broken Bridge outside the area that apparently doubles as a bus stop for horse-drawn carriages. His first order of business is constantly shooting giant balls of AoE damage at you while you desperately zigzag trying to make some progress towards reaching him. Then he enjoys shooting dark red magic skulls in rows at you, and when he's not summoning an endless barrage of flying swords at you, which he can do while he's using other attacks against you, he likes to wreck your face with his scythe. Once you get him down to half health, he enters a rage mode where it becomes harder to stagger him, and he doesn't leave himself open too often, so your best bet to beat him is to be really, really patient and amazing at this game. For beating him, you get his crown, which if you wear it behind his throne opens a hidden path where you can meet the queen and join a covenant, unless you don't bow, in which case she will never speak to you again, and your NPC questline is ruined. Also, don't do what I did and sell the crown for blood echoes. You'll regret it. Number 14, Father Gascoigne. You've been waiting for this name the entire video, haven't you? Like, did he skip the first mandatory boss of the game? Nope, this is where this man deserves to be. For where he is in the game, Father Gascoigne, or Gascoigne, or Gascoigne, or whatever the hell, is one of the hardest bosses to fight. I'd come off a 4-month hiatus since I had last played Dark Souls 2, a game I invested hundreds of hours in, so I was rusty but serviceable coming into Bloodborne. I defeated the Cleric Beast in my first attempt and patted myself on the back like, I still got it. Then I met Father Gascoigne, who promptly kicked my ass 4 times in a row. It's true what they say that this game rewards aggressive play and punishes hesitance. Hesitance was the name of the game in Dark Souls 2. You were never really penalized for taking bosses one hit at a time and backing off. But when it comes to the NPC hunter fights, if you don't crush them as fast as humanly possible, you're gonna down all your blood vials like you got a drinking problem and have no damage to show for it. Father Gascoigne is the first boss that forces you to adjust to this playstyle. And with no shields in Bloodborne except the shitty shield, whose purpose is to let you know there are no shields in Bloodborne, you must amp up your reflexes and go in for the kill. Another mechanic of the game you're not used to at this point is the firearms. Shooting them at the right moments to open up enemies for visceral attacks was a tactic I almost refused to learn, and to this day haven't totally mastered, but it is vital to these kinds of fights. Father Gascoigne serves as a wake-up call to those who think their Dark Souls mastery has completely prepared them for Bloodborne, and can no longer be challenged by this type of gameplay. Also, when he turns into a wolf, his combos become just straight-up horseshit, and he never leaves himself open long enough to land more than a single hit. Yeah, you can use the music box, but it's a crutch that I prefer not to rely on, and you only get about 5 hits out of it. So to sum up, Father Gascoigne is the noob killer of Bloodborne, and is probably single-handedly responsible for 90% of the players that abandon the game. Number 15, Gearman, the First Hunter. You know the very first person you see in the very first cutscene of the game? He's the final boss. Not a big surprise, but he does sit in a wheelchair the entire game, so it's weird to think that he can just get out of it and reap the shit out of you. You only get to fight him if you refuse his offer to kill you. What a tough choice. Gearman has a big-ass scythe that allows him to do some very quick long-range attacks. He also has a magical firearm that when it hits you, puts you in visceral attack state, regardless of whether you were arming an attack or not. Screw the scythe, I want that gun. As the third hardest boss fight in this game, Gearman is entitled to some very strong attacks, but what he is not entitled to is an AoE that can one-shot you out of nowhere, because I guarantee the first time you see it, you won't know it's coming. Gearman will look up at the sky and just stand there for a good 5 seconds, maybe more, and all the while you'll wonder to yourself, should I be attacking him right now? You can probably get a few hits at the start, but then back the hell off for your own safety. Gearman can be discouraging at first with how quickly he can dispatch you, but once you learn the combos and can reliably visceral attack him, the fight becomes about the same as Father Gascoigne minus the wolf transformation. And the rosy butthole vagina creature was slain that day. Number 17, and the hardest boss in the entire game, Rom the Vacuous Spider. There's a good chance that there are a lot of people out there who can't fathom why I would name Rom the Vacuous Spider the hardest boss in Bloodborne. Well, the reason is because Rom the Bullshit Spider Bitch is the most bullshit boss with the most bullshit attacks in the entire game. For one, I didn't even figure out how to get to this boss without looking it up online. Sure, there's this old decrepit man in an oddly placed rocking chair pointing his staff off the edge of a balcony into a seemingly bottomless ocean, but does the game really expect you to jump off without having some doubts about the outcome? Maybe the old geezer just wishes he could jump off and end it all. That's what I took it to mean. I saw a barely living man wish for death with one shaky and tired gesture, and I felt something. But that feeling wasn't an urge to go for a swim. I'm going to narrate this upcoming fight in real time, because the footage doesn't match any of the jokes I had previously written. I know, it's a bummer for all of us. I'll try to sneak some in there. So here we are, up against the boss himself, and as you can see, he is surrounded by like 35 billion of his minions. Now, he's pretty docile in this stage, which is good for business. So, what you would typically do is, fight all the spiders before you do this to him. But I'm a little gung-ho about it, because since he doesn't attack here, like, he's going to teleport eventually, so you would want, free reign to be able to wail on him until that happens. And I have no idea what, past me at this fight is doing right now, but I will try to get inside my own head and see just how far we can get. So we're going to leave all those spiders behind. But as you can see, Rom spawns about 5 miles away. Like, seriously, is there a taxi I can call to drive me to this fucking boss? Oh, he's going to do those... Oh, boulder... Oh, I'm dead! Oh my goodness. Oh, we're dead already. Oh, I really thought that one was going to go a little further, but I guess no. That's okay, because I have a second attempt just on lockdown here, ready to go. And if you're wondering if I'm going to, be forward-thinking and delete this loading screen, the answer is no, because this is all off-the-cuff improv, and I'm just going to be sitting here calling out what I see, and that would require extra work. And I've already worked so goddamn hard on this video. Like, if I mentioned 14 hours. How about the 5 hours it's taken to cobble all this shit together? So that's fun, and we're gonna walk down some stairs and get right back into the thick of things. It's gonna be a great time for all of us. You stick around; it's gonna be really fun. And then we're gonna talk about more about how Rom the vacuous spider is Rom the bullshit spider bitch bullshit. I hate him. I hate him so much. I hate him so much that my usually apt descriptions of things, my very superb English of describing, is extremely taking a hit right now, because what do we do when you're faced with such aggression that is just an obstacle you cannot overcome? And old man is still telling me to jump right down there. He's like, hey, go get killed by the spider again, but I have no choice but to oblige, unfortunately, because this game is a cruel mistress. Very, very, very cruel. I've even got my bone marrow ash. Like, that's gonna help me. Like, if I get to a point where he's really close, but I can't get in there, I'll just shoot him. This is not the boss for that. There's gonna be 50,000 spiders just walking around, waiting for you to spend 1 second not moving. And so it looks like this time I am gonna take the time to kill all these spiders, because that extra damage right when he starts to teleport, that can make all the difference. And so yeah. Daggers, it's heads or tails, whether you think that, okay. Yeah, I hate that that jumping head attack. Like, these spiders are literally, like, mentally retarded. And I do not know. Unfortunately, it works for them, so, you may not think that anymore. But seriously, this kamikaze bullshit they're pulling needs to go very far away. And the damage it does, like, how hard is their head? I understand that it's armored, but I wouldn't think, like, the blunt force of that impact would be enough to nearly one-shot me. In this video, I think I've got 20 vitality, 20 health. So for that to do that much, look, I'm gonna confuse him now. Oh, which way was I going? I'm going that way. See, this is the part of the fight where I really like Rom the vacuous spider, because he does not attack back, and he's just very still. And he just takes it, he takes it, and then eventually he's had enough, and I really just can't stand him when he's had enough, because he starts to dish it back out, and I can dish it out, but I can't take it back. So, like, I was hoping he would be the opposite, because then we'd be the perfect fit. Like, he can take it, but he can't dish it out. That would be my preferred thing. And taxi, yeah, I need to get to 5 miles away from here, please, and stat. It's gonna cost me 18 bucks, worth it. I cannot hoof this anymore. I'm walking on water here. But that doesn't make me like Jesus. I don't feel like Jesus right now, because Jesus would not be getting destroyed by these boulder attacks right here. And the one time I've actually managed to dodge those, and it's caught on camera. Wow, what a moment. I'm really glad that we could capture that and immortalize it in film for the rest of eternity. So he's going to lay on his back like a darling little kitten and then shoot boulders out of the goddamn ground, which is an attack that totally makes sense for a giant spider that kind of looks like an armadillo as well. So that's cool for him. Good that he has all these things that he can do, all these tactics that he can employ. My tactics really are non-existent. They're just run around and hope that he doesn't teleport and hope he doesn't do any of the attacks he has ever. So, as you can see, it's not really working out for me so far. We're doing okay, and now he's going to start flopping around, because he's getting pissed off now. He's like, I've had it with this guy, and that's how that's working out for him. Oh, he's going to do... Oh, you got me with that one. And that's the really unfortunate part, is because he'll hit you with one attack and it'll just start a chain reaction, such as there right now, where, all the other spiders join in like a freaking harmony in a chorus, and they're just, the teamwork that they have is just so infuriating that I can't put it into other words than that. Alright, there's the AoE attack, which he really likes to do as soon as you get up to him. I got sort of lucky in that time period, and it looks good for me, right? Because he's like, he only has 1/4 of his health left, and we're just hanging out, waiting for him to finish his flopping, and this should be over in like 10 seconds, right? We're gonna hit him, and would you look at that? The 1-3 punch, one swipe from one spider, I believe a jumping attack from the other one, and it culminated in a head smash. Literally all 3 of the spider's attacks in unison created this ensemble of a magnificent kill that I just have to... It was beautiful. It was beautiful. Can we see a replay? No, because I don't want to actually put that in the video. That would take more effort. All right, well, you can always just rewind the video and see for yourself on multiple occasions, such as that yet again. So, yeah, that's that. And we're going to go back to the scripted version where I say goodbye and thank you for watching this video. Well, thanks for watching this video, everyone. Yes, there's a third attempt at the boss happening right now in the background. Don't worry, it doesn't end well. I would like to extend my gratitude to those of you who watched far enough to listen to this part, because I worked way considerably harder on this video than I have on anything in my whole life, which is both a prideful exclamation as well as an indictment on the lazy qualities of my character. And that's why now more than ever, I would greatly appreciate if people who enjoyed this boss compilation would move their mouses over to click the like button, because it serves as a validation that I do in fact deserve to be rich and famous. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys next time.